It is Niemira from Fintech and Founding Conference 2019, and right now we are speaking with Robert Antoniades, who is a co-founder and the general partner of Information Venture Partners.
Correct, yes.
A venture capital company.
It's a venture capital fund here based in Toronto that focuses on technologies relevant to financial services.
So you are a fearless investor. So what it takes to be a fearless investor?
It's a great question. I'm not sure if a fearless investor is different than a good investor, but I can tell you what my perspective is.
Please.
The first thing, I think there are some common elements to being a good investor. You need to understand your space and domain. You need to recognize a good person, a good leader, a good visionary, and the team that surrounds that individual. But most importantly, I think you need to be completely unbiased. Mm-hmm. As soon as you bring bias into the equation, you actually muck it up. And I'll give you an example. You don't assume you're the consumer. So if you're seeing an opportunity and you don't understand it because you as a consumer wouldn't buy it or deal with it, you're making a mistake. You're introducing bias into the equation. Okay, so that's why some great investors have missed on some spectacular companies because they didn't understand. What you need to do is you need to understand the problem that the company and or the product is solving. And you need to understand how big that problem is, and you need to understand who's solving it.
That's a lot of research.
It's a lot of research. And in fact, it's imperfect research because there isn't enough data around as an early stage investor to actually, with 100% confidence, come to a conclusion. So at some point, you're using your gut, your instinct, to supplement what you've uncovered in your research.
Well, that is very interesting because at the same time when entrepreneurs presenting their projects, they would like to, I've noticed that some of them, instead of like solving the solution, they're creating something what they think it's very genius, which eventually can actually cause like more problems than solutions. It's a tough choice for the investor as well because it can recognize, the brilliancy of the idea itself, but at the same time, you have to look also from this consumer's perspective and solution. Is it really truly a real solution to the problem? A lot of fintech companies work or co-work even with some traditional old-fashioned banking institutions.
Yeah.
Do you see actually that there is a chance for the future truly good cooperation, or are those two are going to be rather the enemies, that the fintech companies are going to grow on their own and the traditional banks will in a way stay as they are or try to stay as they are for as long as they can?
I think there's a role for both. So there are companies, fintech companies, that will choose to compete and disrupt the financial system, and there are companies that will cooperate with it. And it all depends on exactly what you're trying to do. So I'll give you a perfect example of that. A robo-advisor may be trying to disintermediate a bank and separate them from its customers and become an asset management company in and of itself. Or you could provide that same technology to the financial institutions so that they can build an internal solution so that they compete with the disruptors. So there's two ways to go about it. You can compete and you can cooperate, but what is constant is that there is change. And so financial institutions do have to change with the times. They have to change with the products that they offer, how they deliver them to the consumer, because the consumer's expectation has changed. As a bank, how many times have you gone back into your branch? Well, people don't go into their branches anymore. They do their banking mostly on their phone or online. So how do you have a relationship with a financial institution as a consumer if you don't actually go to their where they do business with their branches? And how does a bank have that relationship with you? It's disrupting, it's changing. So the banks have to change as well. And so they have to adopt technologies that help them compete in the marketplace, and that is often with fintechs, and it's often with fintechs that are competing against other fintechs.
So there's a lot of good fintech companies, but fintech companies, they do have the challenges. What are the biggest fintech companies' challenges which you could see?
Well, I think there's challenges that apply as a business. So is it a good business model? Where does the revenue come from? At what point do you become profitable? How many customers does that imply, or how many assets, or how many, whatever it might be. There are metrics to running a business, and you have to see a path to actually where those metrics become profitable in the real business. So that's, I think, part of the answer is looking at those business models and making sure you have a business model that scales. But I think one of the most common challenges today that we see in the marketplace is competition. So there has been billions and billions of dollars invested in this sector and in companies that often look alike. So what makes you different in the marketplace? Are you first? Are you best? Do you have the best channel partnerships? Do you have the best customers? And so when you think about the concepts in fintech, there's always somebody else that's doing something almost identical. In fact, there's probably in today's environment half a dozen that are doing the same thing.
Do you think that fintech companies have a bigger prospects to evolve and grow in the unbanked territories of the world rather than in the parts of North America or Europe?
Well, we have a huge unbanked and underbanked population in North America as well. So there are opportunities there, but they are different. In terms of the emerging markets and markets that don't have the physical infrastructure that the North American or Western economies have in terms of banking, yes, absolutely there are opportunities. If you were to build a telecommunications infrastructure today, you wouldn't do landlines, you would do wireless. Would you do a physical infrastructure and financial services today in an economy that doesn't have it? Absolutely not. You would do a digital approach. You would take a digital approach to financial services and banking and insurance.
So certain transitions, simply it comes naturally.
Some will come naturally. They will evolve, yes. And the benefit there is they will learn from the mistakes that have been made or the impediments to business that are present in Western and developed economies. So I think there's a huge opportunity in emerging markets, absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate your feedback when it comes to the fintech companies and just what is actually when we're wrapping this one and we're talking about fintech, what is your word of advice to the fintech companies?
To the fintech entrepreneurs or the fintech companies?
Fintech actually companies, but well, that's kind of interchangeable in a way, entrepreneurs, just because they're creating those companies and they are giving the face to the companies as well. So you can pick either entrepreneurs or the companies. Okay.
The first thing I would tell the companies is pick your poison. Understand the market that you're going after and whether you're going to compete with the existing financial services market or if you're going to work with it. Because those are two fundamentally different approaches and they're two fundamentally different business models, and you need to raise capital in different manners. So that is advice number one. Our view is that financial services aren't going to disappear. They're going to evolve. So we like companies that actually work with the existing financial services companies. And so at that point, you now have to understand how are you going to differentiate. And again, coming back to the problem statement, what is this problem statement? What is the problem? How are you going to solve it? And what is the return for your banking partners?
So it is good for the fintech companies to be agnostic.
It is not an issue for them to work with the current, the incumbent players.
Thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you, Anna.
For the information and for the word of advice to the fintech entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.